Okay, and we are live. Wonderful. So, thanks so much, Martin, for accepting to have a conversation here today. For those watching us live or recording, I'll kick off introducing Martin, reading his short bio, and then we will engage in a conversation. So, our guest today is Martin Ström, a multifaceted individual who wears many hats. He's the CEO of Interconnected, a company that merges tech with mental wellness through meditation apps. With a master's degree with a master's degree in both computer science and psychology, Martin is not just a tech guru, but also a licensed psychologist. He's advised giants like Microsoft and IKEA on mindful leadership and has co-authored books on mental clarity and kindness. A public speaker for over a decade, Martin is deeply rooted in Tibetan Buddhist traditions and sits on the board of three non-profit aimed at bringing contemplative practices like meditation into society at large. But his LinkedIn title sums it all up simply as fellow human being, underscoring his mission is which is to make the world a better place for all of us. So, welcome again, Martin, and
Thank you.
such a pleasure to have this conversation about such an important and timely topic. So, before we get into deep dive talking about AI as such, let's do a few fire questions for people to get to know you better. So, how do we pronounce? Starting with your name, how do we pronounce? Oh my God, I just can't see. I'm missing the dot on top of your
Yeah,
name.
yeah, the umlaut, the two dots.
The umlaut, yes, that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So
No,
how do we?
I mean, English speakers would pronounce it Martin Strom, but if you happen to speak Swedish, it would be Martin Ström, which is somewhat different.
Let me try. Martin Strum.
Yeah, something like that.
Close yet? Okay. And you already gave away. So, city, country that you were born, Martin.
Yeah, again, it's the city in Sweden. Swedish, it's Växjö, which, yeah, there you go. But it's in Sweden.
Okay. Wonderful. Favorite drink?
Favorite drink? I don't know. That's probably orange juice or something.
Many people say water, which is yeah.
Yeah, that is
Favorite
a good thing to
yeah.
drink for sure. Yeah.
Favorite meal?
Um, I don't know. I in Sweden we have these thin pancakes that are served with jam and whipped cream. And I think if I can only eat one thing for the rest of my life, it would probably be those, I think.
I think you answered already the next one, which is the favorite dessert. It sounds like more like a
Yeah,
dessert
I
kind
guess
of thing.
I covered both there in one go.
Okay, cool. Do you have any no favorite music or favorite song or music style that you often listen to?
It's varied. I know I'm kind of like a synth pop 80s music type of guy, but the song that comes to mind is, for some reason, it's "Flies on the Windscreen" by Depeche Mode. And I guess
Oh,
it's a pretty dark song, but it's like a reminder of impermanence and death, and I think it's good to reflect on that sometimes because it helps us to see how important and precious life is, and every moment of life that we have. So yeah, maybe that's my
100%.
favorite song.
That's a big rabbit hole we could go, but we'll keep that one for later.
Yeah.
So, how do you keep fit, Martin, physically and mentally?
Yeah, as I get older, I realize the importance of keeping physically fit. So, but I'm inherently lazy, so I got myself a PT because if I'm not pushed, I tend to not exert myself. I find so that's really helping. And then I don't know, as far as mental fitness goes, I think for me, just cultivating an intention to be of benefit to others, cultivating an altruistic intention that kind of gets me out of my own head, try to like broaden that circle of compassion. And for me, that's the best way I found to tend to my own mental well-being.
Great. There's advice embedded there, isn't it? Yeah, to be less self-centered. That can definitely be an antidote for a lot of trouble. Thanks for sharing. Favorite city, if you had to pick one?
Yeah, I would have to say Melbourne, which is the city that me and my family moved to about 2 years ago. Um, I really like it here, and yeah, the same city you're in. So
Yes, no, we're very,
hopefully you like it too.
yeah, no, we're very lucky. And if you're not doing what you're doing at the moment, Martin, which you're juggling a number of balls there, as we can tell by your, title, your headline, what would you be doing?
Um, well, I'm in this very fortunate situation where I strictly don't have to be doing anything. So I guess the whatever I am doing, by definition, is probably what I would be doing. You know, yeah, I'm fortunate enough to be able to pick things that I find meaningful, and yeah, so I wouldn't change much at the moment, to be honest.
Living the dream. How good is that?
Yay!
Wonderful. Yay. Last one before we deep dive into AI related content, Martin. A fun fact about yourself that is something that we cannot find if you look at your LinkedIn profile.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I almost once I almost physically ran into the King of Sweden. I was I was running down a flight of stairs, and he was going up this same flight of stairs with a little entourage of people, and I was in a big hurry, so I was just running down the stairs, and I turned a corner, and I literally almost ran into him. So
Wow,
yeah, I can't find that in my LinkedIn bio.
that's cool. Nearly knocked him down. That could have been an interesting headline, I suppose.
Yeah,
Luckily,
yeah,
luckily, it wasn't the case.
yeah.
So, let's start with. I'm assuming that you had a chance to have a look at our website, Martin, and we have identified a number of challenges. And actually, let me bring the slide here so people watching can actually relate. A number of challenges, and I'm curious to know if there is any particular challenge that resonate the most with you around what we are facing today around artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and actually before that, I'm experiencing some technical difficulties here. I just need to adjust my mic. Very sorry about that, because it's like slipping down. Oh, let's see. Yeah, hopefully that's better. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, I think for me, I'm really fascinated about questions regarding AI and ethics, because I think that's something that will be supremely important moving forward as AI gets more and more competent. Um, we need to figure out how to create artificial intelligence that is um, actually ethical. And yeah, hopefully we can get in to that a little bit about what that actually would mean and entail and so forth. But that's something that I find really fascinating, important.
Okay, great. So, out of the challenges we have identified, so the first one is the fact that sophistication, AI sophistication, is increasing in an exponential rate. And by the way, this was put together back in 2020. So I think now this is even more true than ever, while the regulation and governance actually are falling behind. So that's one. The second one, I think, is related to the one you mentioned. So ethics in AI is becoming mainstream in our mainstream conversation. However, frameworks and agreements are falling short. And especially around specific solutions. We have lots of documents and agreements and guidelines, but they're very high level, and the more technical professionals that we speak with here, they mention often that what we are missing is the more hands-on, more specific solutions to deal with the ethical challenges. The third one is around the black box, the fact that machines are already capable to make decisions in a very complex way, to the point that the programmers behind actually not always can understand actually what's going on. That's why we're calling the black box. The second last, many public and private organizations, including C-level execs, don't really understand AI. That's a reality. They're not supposed to, and many recommendations actually still to be implemented by governments, and that agreement between governments is still to happen as well. So in addition to the ethical dilemma, anything else calls your attention, or anything else that you like to comment?
Well, I guess just understanding AI is a complex thing, since not even the AI experts fully understand AI, which ties in obviously to the black box thing. And I think that's just going to get more and more prominent as we move forward from here. And at some point, there will be no chance whatsoever for us to understand AI, which is why we, at that point, it's good if we have been able to create something that's ethical and doesn't surpass us and just end up obliterating us, I guess.
Yeah, listening to you now, Martin, what came to mind was this. There's this book from Stuart Russell. He was I came across him, and he's a TED Talk speaker, and he had a couple of TED Talks about AI safety in AI, and he wrote this book called Human Compatible. So he's big into this idea of keeping humans in the loop. How whenever we have no big major decisions, make sure there is a human there to kind of make a call. Exactly to prevent risks, and also to be more ethical.
Yeah.
In terms of initiatives, we also have identified a number of initiatives on the website. So we were talking, in the studio before we kicked off. So having a glance at those, is there any in particular that you think it could be more effective or should be prioritized in your perspective?
No, I think just formulating. I think the idea of formulating a mindful AI manifesto is a really good initiative in itself. And I mean, people probably have different definitions of what to put into, or definitions for what mindful actually means, and some people maybe have no definition for it or no relationship to it. But for me, it's so within mindfulness, there is this. I guess there's two facets to it, and one is about intention. So what, and for a human being, the intention behind our actions is really, really important. And if we do get to talk about ethics, actually, that's I would say that intention is what defines whether something is ethical or not. So having a good intention is very important, and being aware of our intentions and cultivating our intentions. So that's, for me, that's part of what mindful means. And so there's intention, but then there's also attention, like what do we focus on, and where do we direct our effort, and what do we pay attention to, because that's kind of what becomes our reality. So, and then translate that into AI terms. That's a conversation that I hope will continue and grow in the coming years, because what does intention mean in relation to AI? What does attention mean in relation to AI? But Yeah, and then for me also there is having, as I do, a background in Buddhist philosophy and psychology, in mindfulness. In that word is also embedded, um, not just having an intention, but also having a positive intention. So, um, so for many, mindfulness might be about just cultivating focus or de-stressing or becoming more mentally balanced and whatnot. But for me, it's also about being aware of the content of our mind and then cultivating those intentions that are most beneficial and helpful and meaningful and so on and so forth. So there again, I guess we tie back to the ethics, and the compassion and the caring and those kind of things. You can't be caring without being mindful. Yeah. So, and again, how all of that translates into AI is a conversation to be had for sure. But I think it's a supremely important one.
Thank you. And I think that's hopefully that's a good segue to a question that I often ask more, machine learning experts and other scientists. So of course you're not coming from that background, but you're coming from the background of psychology, philanthropy, and a contemplative practitioner. So I think you have much to add from a different angle, which is around human values. And I know we spoke about this framework before. You mentioned another one that potentially could be a better one to refer, and I think we added to the website as a footnote. But the question that I often ask is, can we teach, or how can we teach AI human values? Because you spoke about intention and positive intention, and with my limited understanding of AI, it's about, we have the old saying, rubbish in, garbage out.
Yeah.
AI really learn whatever we teach, right? You see ChatGPT there at the moment. So, um, do you think, and maybe from your angle, it's more not so much from a technical perspective, how could we teach human values to AI? And the model that is up there, for those who are not familiar, it's a model put together by the University of Pennsylvania, Martin Salomon. After research he did, identify the 24 character values that are appreciated across humanity over time. But this is just one model. There are many other frameworks, and Martin actually shared another one that could be more comprehensive. So yes. So, what are your thoughts, Martin, around that idea of teaching human values to AI, and how do you think that could be useful? Would that hit the spot in terms of having that developing that good intention? Do you think so, or how would that benefit?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a multifaceted topic for sure. But I think just starting out with, so we call it obviously artificial intelligence, and intelligence, again, people have different definitions, but basically it's about our ability to accumulate knowledge and skill, our ability to manipulate our environment, to think abstractly, to deal with new situations, to adapt, that kind of thing. But so it's a lot about knowledge and skill. And if we look at something like ChatGPT, it's obviously based on this large language model, and it was. I think it's really fascinating that what basically happened was that they created these bigger and bigger language models, which is basically you have concepts and relationships between concepts, but then weird things popped out of that, like what looked like understanding, and there was problem solving and things that they did not expect, and still no one really knows exactly how does this apparent understanding of things emerge from just a language model. But I think also just yeah, sorry, go ahead. Or,
No. I'm listening. I'm listening. Yeah, I'm taking notes, but I'm listening. Yes.
yeah, okay, sorry. And yeah, but I think also as as human beings, a lot of when we relate to what we perceive as our reality, actually that is a lot of that is conceptual. So a lot of what I think our intelligence is also this, basically a big um, language model with concepts and relationships between concepts. But then there's also, for a human being, there's something beyond that. And sometimes, we might talk about wisdom, and I think wisdom is beyond mere intelligence and just mere understanding. Again, defining wisdom is difficult, but just a very simple working definition that I sometimes use is that being wise means to act in a way that's beneficial not just to yourself but to many, and being wise means to act in a way that is also not beneficial just for immediately, but also for long term. So wisdom is a lot about acting in ways that are beneficial to many and long term. And a wise person, to me, is someone that embodies qualities like generosity and benevolence and caring and compassion. And you might argue that it's intelligent to be compassionate. You can also argue that it's not, but I definitely think it's wise to be compassionate and benevolent. And so there's this. So we're creating intelligent machines, but how can we create AIs that are actually wise? And I think from that can, what we call human values, I think a lot of that just springs from wisdom. And the question then becomes, how do we create wise and caring machines?
Thank you. Yes, so much you that I could, go and drill down. So, but thanks for that, Matt. I think the first thing, the point around wisdom, and I used to ask a question more about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Can we teach emotional intelligence to AI? And then I changed from emotional intelligence because actually Carrie, who spoke with last week, her answer made me think like, actually, that's not the right question. Actually, it's more around, can we teach human values to AI? And intelligence, when we talk about intelligence and I'm thinking about AI, I'm thinking about cognitive, capacity, ability to
Mm-hmm.
make decisions, that kind of
Yeah.
intelligence. And with the wisdom side, or the human values, or the emotional intelligence side, we're talking about a different kind of intelligence. If that makes sense. And something that came to my mind is that the whole neurochemicals, right? There's an element there that of course the machines don't experience the neurochemicals that we do. When we are kind, we get a dopamine kick.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for ourselves, it's a win for the person that we are being kind to, and nature actually reward us because we get the dopamine. So there is a neurochemical element there that is of course not available for machines. But as you said, in some occasions, that black box, the understanding beyond what is expected from programmers. It's actually something that it's which makes me think of artificial general intelligence and consciousness. And I know that we talked about consciousness in the context of AI. I don't know if you had a chance to read the article from Andrew Smith. He wrote this big article about consciousness. Can machines be sentient? Which is a whole topic around sentient machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went completely popcorn. It probably didn't make any sense. My any remarks, any thoughts based on these soup or just blob there?
Yeah. No, so I think um, there are two things here that I think is relevant to touch upon, and maybe let's start maybe with because the first thing that I'm thinking of is around ethics. So if we, if we talk about human values, and that ties into, for me, it definitely ties into ethics. And if you look at what it means to be ethical, I mean, one thing you can do is you can just do a poll around people and ask them, like, how would you like to be treated? And most people would say that, yeah, I don't want to be killed or harmed. I don't want my shit stolen. Please don't exploit me sexually. Don't lie to me. You ask anyone, and that's pretty much what they would tell you. And then being an ethical person would just mean that you treat people that way. So that's, and then from that you can kind of derive potentially some rule-based ethics. And the world's religions have been at this for a long time, and various ethical philosophies are doing the same thing. But for me, the having a set of rules, that's probably a beginner's way to be an ethical person. But to be truly ethical, I think you need to move beyond just having a set of rules, and like, this, don't do that, and that's good. Because like I said, and like I touched upon in the beginning, the fundamental thing is actually your intention. So for example, if I say I give you a present, is that an ethical thing to do, or is it an unethical thing to do? And for me, it depends on what is my intention. If I'm trying to manipulate you and gain favors, then it's unethical. But if I'm truly generous and I just want to make you happy and here's a present, that would be an ethical action. So at least when it comes to human ethics, I think that you always need to dig down and look at the intention. And if you want to be an ethical person, your intention is what you should be having, that benevolent, kind and a good intention. That's what you would need to cultivate. But then again, then you can ask, like, how do you teach that to an AI? How do you even define intention when it comes to an AI? You can provide an AI with certain goals that it's should be targeting, but that's more akin to, again, having a rules-based ethics. So then that in turn ties into the other thing you mentioned, which is around consciousness. And can we create conscious sentient machines? And personally, I have I have no idea. No one has any idea. But for me, I think it's also, the whole debate around consciousness is interesting, because the ubiquitous, or the paradigm is that consciousness somehow arises from physical processes in our brains. But for me, when I observe consciousness, I see something that has no physical attributes whatsoever. Consciousness doesn't have any location or charge or spin or color. It's just not a physical thing. So how can a non-physical thing possibly arise from physical processes? So and that's the interesting thing with, if you talk to any neuroscientist, they will say, well, yeah, we see these correlations, this part of the brain activates and then you have this conscious experience, but they have no idea what the causal link would be. Like, how would the brain create this non-physical phenomenon of experience? So it's so we haven't even begun to understand how what the nature of consciousness is. And then obviously is really, it can't be measured, and it's really difficult to then how would we gauge if an AI has become conscious? but however, it seems like one of the fundamental aspects of being conscious, like the most fundamental things is that I guess you could say that we care, and I think all sentient, all conscious beings care. That's you care about self-preservation, but you also you care about others, and care about what food you like, and but um, there is this caring, and again, um, how can we create that in an AI? Because I think that very caring is then the foundation for our intention, which can be cultivated, and that's then the foundation for ethics, which can be um, how we become, mm, you know, how can we bring benefit to the world? So yeah, that's wow, that's quite a rant there, but
And
that's what that's what came up when you
no, that
from your comment.
that's great. Thanks, Martin. And imagine people watching the recording later will be like, there are way more many questions than answers in this conversation, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's the
I
nature.
mean, there's definitely more in what I just my rant there. There's definitely more questions
Mm,
than answers in there for
mm.
sure.
I think it's the nature of the now this direction of the conversation, I guess. So a few things, and we need to be conscious of time, but I'm conscious of time, but I think we could talk for another 2 hours easily. Um, you mentioned intention, good intention, and what I was thinking, how can we unpack? You know, when I look at the human values, it's if you had to teach AI train a model kindness, what is kindness? And my thinking was like, yeah, we can decode the behavior of kindness, we can say
Yeah,
somehow, right? So that's why I'm a believer, I want to believe that we can teach human values to AI, because curiosity, kindness, courage, there should be a way to decode. And as long as we can define some rules around, we should be able to train models around that. um
yeah.
yes, and the
I
the
think
conscious.
sorry, yeah.
Mm,
I
go-
think one of the problems there is though that sometimes it's kind to yell at someone. Um, you know, sometimes it might be kind to physically, if you say you need to physically restrain someone, that might actually be hurting them, but it is still the kind thing to do. So the problem with encoding like the behavioral measures of kindness is that it kind of also needs, again, wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah, to
Yeah, because
distinguish
I mean,
when.
there's a lot of kind people, with
Mm,
great intentions, but they just go around making a mess of everything because they lack
mm,
wisdom. So
mm,
it's yeah,
mm,
it's really
mm.
tricky. So I think the
And
question is
how to do.
how can we teach an AI to truly care, and what would that mean? Because
Mm,
I think with if you have caring, if you have compassion, then if you bring in intelligence, really understanding everything at a level that we might not even be able to comprehend, then we could get amazing AI, because we could actually get wise and caring AI that could potentially care for this planet and care for us in a way that's actually beyond us. um, yeah, so that's yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Well. Maybe we should close on that note. I think we should have a part two of this conversation, Martin, some stage, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, Final couple of questions, Martin. So one, it's I think you touched on that already, but what mindful AI means to you? So we talk a lot about responsible AI, ethical AI. If you had to define mindful AI in your own words, or what comes to mind when you think of mindful AI?
Yeah, I would have to go with wise and compassionate AI then, which is it's not Chat GPT, that's for sure.
Cool. And why do you think the mindful AI movement is important? In other words, why did you decide to invest your precious time to have a conversation with us today?
No, I think this discussion around human values, around ethics, I think it is a very, very important one. And it's going to be a tricky one also because people have very different ideas about, these things. What is actually ethical? And yeah, but if we dig into it and if we spend time having these kind of conversations, and if we bring those things that you could put under that mindfulness umbrella, like I did at the start, I think that's going to be really helpful in regulating and directing and shaping the future of AI, and hopefully making it more as beneficial to humanity as possible.
Wonderful. Thanks, Martha. Any final thoughts or message or story, mantra, quote, anything that you'd like to share with those watching the recording?
No, just thanks everyone for putting up with my random ramblings.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure that Martin will be keen to have a chat. So I'm assuming, could people reach out to you if you want to connect and extend this conversation on LinkedIn?
Yeah, most
Yeah,
definitely. I'm happy to engage with anyone on this. I think it's fascinating and super interesting. So yeah, just reach out, and if you're in Melbourne, we'll have a coffee.
fantastic. All right. Thanks again for your time, Martin. See you next time.
See you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.